truth, yeah, forget the rest. You were proposed the lies right out of the park. Look beyond the shadows that set the dark. Sparks of laughter fire up the night, bringing clarity where they blur the fight. Cut through the chaos, yeah, the tangled lies. Steam punchy with the center clear eyes. Truths and jokes gonna rock this show. Step into light where the real facts glow.
Hello and welcome to the Fun Show. It's sad that nobody is ever here during the intro song. The intro song is awesome. Harry, you've heard the intro song. How you doing today, Harry? So we've got a few things going on today that we can talk about. The first thing is that this so-called hearing, which I always, whenever whoever holds these hearings, I always laugh that they're called hearings because the people that are holding the hearing do very little hearing. I think they should call them yellings because all they are is people yelling to get talking points, and nobody actually has any interest in what the people that are there to testify have to say. They're just there to be yelled at. Well, one side wants to yell at them and the other side wants to, like pat them on the back and tell how awesome they are. Nobody's there to listen. Which you would think the objective goal of a hearing would be to, to hear. But all they heard today was Rand Paul taking the fifth. And, so now Rand Paul, or I'm sorry, to Dr. Fauci taking the fifth. And so now Rand Paul wants to prosecute him for taking the Fifth Amendment. And his justification is that since Joe Biden already pardoned him, then, he shouldn't be taking the fifth because he doesn't have anything to take the fifth for. The thing that, Rand Paul has already said he wants to lock up Dr. Fauci. And a lot of the questions he was asking just from the very outset were, loaded questions. If you don't know what a loaded question is, a famous one is, have you stopped beating your wife yet? And there's no way to honestly answer that question unless you used to beat your wife and stopped, or if you're still beating your wife. But if you never beat your wife, then there's no way to answer that question honestly, because you didn't stop beating her because you never started beating her. But if you say you stopped beating her, then you're implying that you stopped beating her, that you used to beat her. And so that's called a loaded question. That's kind of like the famous loaded question. And a lot of the questions that Rand Paul was asking were based on a false premise that in order to answer the question, that Rand Paul would have had to choose between which lie to tell. And what prompted this is there was a bunch of, he kept daily notes, kind of a diary, if you will, of what was going on during the pandemic and what his private thoughts were. And Rand Paul got a hold of those. You can't read this, but it says, I work hard so my cat doesn't have to, or so my cat can have a better life. Got this from a coworker. Very nice coworker. Anyway, Rand Paul was sitting there. He went through and he spent, it's like 1,100 pages. And so Rand Paul went through and cherry picked some things to make it look make things look different than they were. Presented stuff out of order, out of context. And so what happened is early on, there was A lot of it is about whether or not the virus was actually um, designed in a biolab. This is what they want you to believe, is that Rand Paul personally funded or something the this biolab that weaponized COVID and released it to the world, which is a ridiculous assessment. And there are certain markers that are consistent with it being engineered, but not exclusive to it being engineered. Like these are not markers that would only exist if it was engineered. And so they're trying to make it seem like, and so what happened is after they had more time to study it, they changed the official stance on it from it was definitely evolved in the wild in a market, in a wet market. That's what in a wet market too. It was probably um, developed in, or just generated in a wet market. It went from like it did not happen in a biolab to it theoretically possibly could have, but it's still highly unlikely that it was engineered. And they've tried to cherry pick things for 6 years now and tried to make it, the conspiracy theorists have been trying to make it seem like there's all this stuff there, but when you start peeling back and you actually look at what the actual experts say, and I know that Republicans don't like the word experts because they just, expertise is like a fake thing to them. But I actually think expertise matters when it comes to these things. And a lot of things, a little knowledge is dangerous. And I see a lot of that where somebody can sit there and use a little bit of knowledge to lead you to think, okay, I really know what I'm talking about. And then there's a whole lot of lies that come out of that little bit of knowledge. But because you don't have the knowledge to be able to identify what those lies are, it makes it easier to believe them. So Lee Sunset Boulevard says, hi there, how you doing? So there was this hearing, and there was a lot of stuff in there. Rand Paul was made like just blatantly false statements. I mean, he said that most scientists now agree that it was probably engineered in a biolab, which is not at all true. Not at all true that's the case. Most people don't think it was engineered in a biolab. I think the prevailing opinion is it probably evolved in a wet market, but there is a Lloyd Christmas chance that that it happened in a biolab. So there's that going on. That they were trying to, like basically just criminalize Rand Paul and ask him all these questions, and so he just sat there, just took the fifth over and over and over again. I think it like 172 times or something. He just didn't answer any questions. So now Rand Paul wants to prosecute Dr. Fauci for using the Fifth Amendment, which is insane. He kicked out Fauci's lawyer for like trying to say something. He's like, "Oh, you weren't even allowed to sit at the table," and it's like, why not? I've seen lots of hearings where the counsel was able to sit at the table. It was literally a witch hunt. Okay, so Ryan wants to know what my thoughts are on cannibalism. I am not a cannibal. I don't think about cannibalism. I don't even understand why the question is. Are you a Republican? No, I am not a Republican. I think that most people that watch this channel with any consistency would laugh at the idea of me being a Republican. No. So the first thing, where the title of the show is Trump's revenge, but this is more like Rand Paul's revenge, the Dr. Fauci part. So he was all geared up, and he just once it became obvious that Rand Paul was gonna, or that Dr. Fauci was just gonna take the fifth all day, he got really annoyed, and it was funny watching him get really annoyed. Um, but I have a hard time believing that anybody is going to get prosecuted in the United States of America for taking the Fifth Amendment. But that's what he wants to do now. Then the second thing is this James Comey prosecution. I don't know if you've been following this, but a year ago, a little bit over a year ago, James Comey and his wife were walking along the beach, and they saw 8647 spelled out in seashells on the seashore. And so they took a picture of it. Comey didn't even know what it meant, and his wife used to work in a restaurant. She said, "Well, back when we get rid of a menu item, it would be called 86." And so I think it's like some sort of clever play on 8647. And so, like 25, And so he's like, "Oh, that's cool." And so he takes a picture and posts it on Instagram. And then the next thing that happens is there's all this stuff coming up, sitting there acting like he had threatened Trump's life, which was ridiculous. As the right wing sphere was going crazy, acting like this was some sort of death threat. One, because 86 does not mean a death threat. They sold 8646 t-shirts on Amazon all the time. Nobody ever got prosecuted for that. And if you're the head of the FBI, the former head of the FBI, I would think that you would have a better, and you wanted to assassinate the president of the United States. You're not going to do that by taking a picture of seashells on the seashore and hope that somebody takes your advice. Like, you would think that, if he really wanted to kill the president, he would be able to figure out a better plan than posting a picture on Instagram. So after, while all this was going on, Donald Trump was saying, well, he wasn't involved with it. This is just what was being told. Well, now Comey has gotten some records released in conjunction with this trial. And it's come out that Donald Trump was, like, when he posted that, Donald Trump was on his plane and immediately had agents track Comey's phone extrajudicially, track Comey's phone and see where he was. They're just driving along and minding their own business. Wasn't even I doubt they were even thinking about the post at that point. But this whole thing was, he had CIA trying to nail Comey the moment this picture happened. And even like the agents were saying, "I don't think this is legal." And he's like, "Do it anyway." So now, and so there's a chance this is just going to get thrown out on the face of it. Like, this is just definitely vindictive prosecution. I'm going to go through some comments here. Bro, keep speaking your truth. The corruption is impalpable. This is, I'm not even exaggerating. This is by far the most corrupt administration in the history of America. Don't forget to like. Yes, thank you, Revival. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Pump up that algorithm so that more people can come and enjoy the show. Only people that work in restaurants know what 86 means. Certainly not the whole world. And I think it's funny that James Comey didn't even know what 86 meant. His wife, who used to work in a restaurant, explained it to him. You would defend Comey by insinuating he's an imbecile. No, I wouldn't defend Comey by descending. You would actually, you're the one suggesting he's an imbecile. by suggesting that he tried to assassinate Donald Trump by posting a picture on Instagram. Like the former head of the FBI isn't going to have like a better plan than that. All he did was post a picture. I don't need to defend anything. He didn't do anything wrong. Last I heard, free speech was still in the Constitution. Jail him for what? For posting a picture? If the glove fits, I'm waiting for you to stumble when saying seashells on the seashore. I used to practice the silly Sally sells seashells by the seashore when I was a kid. It was one of my favorite tongue twisters, along with Theophilus the thistle sifter, a sifter full of thistles. Good. DJT is bad for business. DJT is bad for everything. Somebody, Sakagawa says he lied. I don't know who he is or what the lie was. When will Huggy Bear appear? Great name. Huggy Bear is sleeping on the couch right now. He's up on the top of the couch on the headrest, having a good nap. He's a cute cat. I'll tell him you said hi. If John Cornyn does not vote for Todd Blanche, will the confirmation fail? If Todd, it might not get out of committee right now, because Tillis and Cornyn are both looking like they're not going to let it out of committee. Now, the thing is, if they don't let it out of committee and there's no vote, he can stay on for an indefinite amount of time as the acting attorney general. But it's starting to look like not only will he not get confirmed, there won't be a hearing. And if the Democrats take control of the Senate, then he's definitely not ever getting out of committee. Speaking of corruption, have you seen this movie on YouTube about James Garfield? No, I haven't. Like James Garfield, the old ex-president? I think he's the one that had like an illegitimate son, and somebody like had this big expose on him having an illegitimate son. And he, and they went and they asked him, do you have this illegitimate son? And he's like, yes. And that pretty much just killed the whole thing because he admitted it. And apparently he had supported the kid and stuff too. If Comey did commit crimes against children, would you still defend him? If Comey committed crimes against children, no, I wouldn't defend him. If Donald Trump committed crimes against children, would you defend him? I wouldn't defend anybody that committed crimes against children. But James Comey has not defended crimes against anybody. Your hypothetical question kind of is irrelevant because nobody is talking about defense. Like, what is like? Do you think that's some sort of gotcha? No, I would not defend Comey if he committed crimes against children. I am not going to attack Comey because he took a picture of seashells. There's a big, huge difference between taking a picture of seashells and molesting children. For instance, Comey has been accused of taking pictures of seashells. Donald Trump has been accused of raping children. Which one are you defending? It's a whole movie about Garfield and Chester A. Arthur, and the corruption was just off the charts. Interesting. I'll have to look at it and check it out. Maybe there's more corruption I don't know about. Like, at least in my lifetime, there's nothing close to Donald Trump. He made $4 trillion or $4 billion in his first year off of just pure corruption, selling pardons and making deals with Saudi Arabia, and I mean taking planes that are worth $400 million and then having another $600 million in U.S. taxpayers upgrade them. Just why would there be any doubt? The former attorney general didn't do anything close to that. Taking a picture of seashells doesn't require defense. It doesn't require prosecution either. I mean, it's just, I don't even understand how anybody, like, remember when Trump got kicked off of Twitter and all the free speech champions like showed up as though there's a constitutional right to a Twitter account and there's like a constitutional right to spread disinformation on social media. Like, at the time before Elon Musk owned it, I said, Twitter is a private company. They can kick off anybody they want for whatever reason they want. And then when Elon Musk bought it, I said the same thing. I went from 80 million views a month on my account to about 20 million. Like I got just right away, my account got nerfed. I didn't complain about it. It is what it is. He owns it. It's his to do with what he wants. He wants to run a crappy business. That's his job. That's his business. Twitter tanked as a result of his leadership right away. Lost advertisers, did all kinds of stuff. It's his business. It's his money to lose. It's all up to him. But you do have a constitutional right to not be prosecuted for your speech. That's what the First Amendment says, that government can't prosecute you for the things that you say. And that is exactly what Donald Trump is doing. And that's what makes this whole thing with Comey so alarming, is it's not just that the government prosecuted him, it's that the government is prosecuting Comey at Trump's direct direction, under his orders, immediately, before there was even any investigation into anything. Which pardon did Trump sell specifically? A couple that come to mind are one, the guy that's in Honduras, and the former CEO of Binance. Both of those got pardoned, even though one was a drug dealer and one was a trafficker or a money launderer for traffickers and drug cartels. Both of them got money or got pardons and had like serious financial ties to Donald Trump. If you don't know these things, you're free to look them up. But I've covered them on the show before, and they're very much out there on the internet. These are not wild conspiracy theories. Watch the last week tonight with John Oliver. He covers it quite well. Since taking office, Trump's wealth went from just over $2 billion to just over $8 billion. But yeah, he's on the straight and narrow. How much did Fauci pay for his pardon? Well, Fauci didn't pay anything for his pardon. What does Fauci have to do with anything? Saka just seems like one of those people that really does not want answers. He just wants to, stir things up. Do you do your research? Look up Trump pardons drug dealer after Bitcoin buy. Why are you here? Adam Cadan received a pardon 3 days after donating $2,600 to the political leadership PAC of Representative Ryan McKenzie, Republican of Pennsylvania. Trump visited the district on June 23rd. 3 days later, the guy gets a pardon. There is just a string of pardons where people benefited Trump right after or right before getting pardons. Like they'll donate money to his library or invest in a company. The Binance guy helped create his cryptocurrency, which is like worth billions of dollars now. Hi, Harry. Oh, Victor, how you doing today? In Sweden, politicians have to document how they spend money. One party was out eating out a lot and brought some clothes, and the party had to pay it back. That's cool. I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, we have disclosure laws in the United States, but I don't know if they're to that degree. I think what would be interesting is if we saw how much money the Republican Party spent on grinder accounts, because apparently a lot. If they like, I would like to see how much money the Republican Party spends on grinder and cocaine. Okay, let's get over all of Biden's. Okay, let's just go over this. Let's say that all of Biden's pardons were wrong. And I'm not agreeing they are, but in theory, does that make it okay for Trump to sell pardons to drug traffickers for billions of dollars? If Biden was wrong, does that make Trump right? Is selling pardons right or wrong? Because if Biden selling pardons is okay, then it's okay for Trump, right? And you know, there's absolutely no connection for Biden. Like they're like, this is not even a thing with Biden. But it's like you want to, what about something that didn't happen to excuse what is happening? Traveler from Singapore. Thank you for the jewels, my friend. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. I don't know why you say goodbye. I say hello. Okay. Tell me which pardon you think that Biden sold. Tell me which pardon Biden profited off of. You want to go over each one? You start. Show me the one that he sold. Show me the one that where he took money in order to get the pardon. Just tell me one. Tell me one. We don't have to go through all of them, just one. Mr. Kadan was was part of the Jack Abramoff fraud scandal. People can make things up on the internet and fools like you believe it. How inept is that bozo? Yes, people can make things up on the internet. And I encourage anybody to go and verify everything I say. Because I agree. I think that people make things up on the internet all the time. I think a lot of people have made a lot of money off of making up things and having the internet pick those things up. And so I 100% absolutely encourage, implore even everybody watching my streams to look up everything for yourself and validate everything I say. And if I am wrong about something, to correct me. Because I would rather be right at the end of a conversation and wrong at the beginning of it than wrong at the end of it and still wrong at the end of it. Like I'd love to be corrected because I don't like being wrong. And so if I learn something, that's good for everybody. But that doesn't mean I'm making stuff up right now. What's good for the goose or whatever. Pardon whoever they want. You can only care about. Okay, you know, but if you're going to sit there and defend Donald Trump killing people because they're trafficking drugs, according to him, on the high sea, and then he's pardoning the people that are paying them to traffic them, don't you see the issue there? And you know, as far as the goose and gander thing, you've shown no goose. You've shown no goose. So I don't know where you're talking about the gander. As you get older, you get dumber. Yeah, I think as you get older, you get wiser. What's interesting is when you get older, when up until about 35, your brain forms new neurons, and so it's easier to learn new information. And then once you get past 35, the neurons, it's harder to develop new neurons, but the neurons you have actually get longer. And that's because your understanding of what you have already learned starts to grow. Like you actually, even neurologically, your brain starts to understand what you have already learned more. And so that like the old expression, it's, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, is true, but also so is the with age comes wisdom thing. Like both of those are neurologically sound principles. Pardoning your entire family is wrong. Both, well, I don't think that both are equally bad, and I understand why people have issues with pardoning Hunter Biden. Um, but I also understand that you've got a president right now who is sitting there trying to prosecute somebody for selling seashells or posting pictures of seashells, and he saw that, and I think he pardoned people like his own family. He also pardoned Dr. Fauci, anticipating these just evil, vindictive prosecutions. I don't think that's the same thing as pardoning people that sold that laundered money for trafficking children. Uh, I think that there is a difference. You can agree or disagree on whether or not it's okay to pardon Hunter Biden. By the way, for a law which was later overturned. and so Hunter Biden would not be in prison now either way. But even if that weren't the case, there's still a huge difference. Like you can, like I don't think that you can say both are equally bad. No, even if you were to say both are bad, I don't have a problem with the pardon of Hunter Biden. But even if you did, to say it's equally bad, I think is disingenuous. Because it's not. I forgive you. Your brain fog is for what I don't even know what you're. He pleaded the fifth and took a pardon from Biden for Fauci should be done. He pleaded the fifth because he was being asked. We already talked about this. He pleaded the fifth because the questions were not honest, and the only reason he was there is a perjury trap. Dr. Fauci or that Rand Paul was not there trying to get answers. If Trump pardoned his son, this dude would poop his pants. Donald Trump is trying to get a law passed that you can't even prosecute his son. And you're not complaining about that. You love to like do this thing. You're one of those people that has what I call a double standard. You sit there and you invent double standards for the other side so that you can then go ahead and have your own double standard. So you have a double standard and you have a double standard about double standards. So that's why I call it a double standard. Biden, I trust justice system. Trump got elected, then he pardoned son. Yeah, that's not really English, but I get the gist of what you're saying. Yes, Donald Trump did not trust what Donald Trump would do to the Justice Department, and he has since had that fear validated. You have Donald Trump prosecuting James Comey for posting a picture on Instagram. Fauci also worked with Trump. The things they're accusing him of, he did while he was working for Trump. Trump trying to protect his people. Like Republicans seem to forget that Donald Trump was president in 2020. My nose itches. I don't know why. I think it's my allergies. It's not a cocaine habit. Trump is trying to protect his entire family from IRS investigation is basically the same thing. So Biden and Trump are no better. Let's move on. I accept that. Let's go through this. Let's talk about the Hunter Biden thing. Okay. What Hunter Biden was convicted of was lying on his background check. That's what he did. He lied on his background check, got a gun, kept it for 10 days, never put bullets in it, and then threw it away. That was his crime. Just to be clear. And since then, the Supreme Court has said that That law is unconstitutional. All right. That's a whole different thing. That's a whole different thing than you can make billions of dollars, lie about it, and never get investigated by the IRS. They're not equally bad. Even if you want to say that Biden was wrong to pardon Hunter, saying it is the equivalent of Donald Trump trying to make it so that, like, literally pass a law that says that you can't prosecute his family. No, I'm sorry. Those are not the same thing. That nobody in the history of the country has ever been prosecuted for just lying on their background check. Every time before that law has been prosecuted, it's been in conjunction with other crimes. That was the only crime that he was convicted of. There was also some stuff about his, ironically, his taxes, but he had agreed to pay back those taxes and stuff like that. And well, he'd already paid the taxes. And in most cases where the taxes are paid, they don't get prosecuted for it. So what Hunter Biden was being prosecuted is not stuff that other people are prosecuted. Even that was selective. The investigate, the special prosecutor that was assigned to prosecute Hunter Biden was assigned while Donald Trump was president, not while Joe Biden was president. So Joe Biden sat there and let the whole thing play out the entire time that he was president. I think if Donald Trump were not coming up, if Kamala Harris had won, I don't think he pardons Hunter Biden. I think he just pardoned Hunter Biden because he saw the writing on the wall and he read it very, very clearly. But let's not equate that with what is going on right now. I feel like that's a lazy, false equivalence. Even if you want to say it's wrong, I can understand why people would have problems with it. I don't think people understand why I don't, but I don't because I think it's selective prosecution. And so I don't actually have an issue with it. But if you do, I understand why. I'm not gonna, like, act like you're a terrible person for it or anything. But let's not equate that with selling somebody a pardon that raped that trafficked children. So he's popping now talking about Trump's. I don't know what you mean I'm popping. I had a stroke and they told me I would never run or write again. But I worked out for 3 hours a day and have done for 6 years. I play handball with my left hand. If you put your mind to it, your brain will rebuild. Oh, okay. You're talking about what I was saying earlier. Yeah, I mean, just generally speaking, that's the way the neurology works. I had a neurologist at the Mayo Clinic explain. Gonna shoot somebody or accident time, which I did cover that. It's all a show. It's all fake. The aliens already took over and clothed everyone in Congress. Okay. I would just say if the aliens took over, then Ron DeSantis is exhibit number 1. Hi, Ultima. Hunter's laptop, Hillary's emails, Obama's birth certificate, they're all MacGuffins. MAGA are just simple-minded and easily manipulated. And Hunter had a laptop, and Joe Biden ate an ice cream cone, and Barack Obama had Dijon mustard on his hamburger and wore a tan suit. You think the laptop was fake? I don't think I think that what happened. This is what the actual Washington Post article that talks about that, where they turned over the hard drive, a copy of the hard drive. Let's just talk about what we know for a fact. They turned over a copy of the hard drive to some experts. that went and they reviewed the hard drive and they found some things about it. They went and they looked at the emails and they validated that some of the emails were sent, and it was only about 2% of the emails were actually obtained from Hunter Biden's actual email account. Of course, being sent to or from there doesn't mean that he sent them, or, obviously you have no control over who sends you emails, right? And if somebody hacks the account, they can also send emails from there. But they do verify that that 2% of the emails came from there. What they also determined, and this is something that doesn't get tossed around a lot. One, this was a copy of the hard drive. It wasn't the original hard drive. It wasn't what was on they never saw the laptop. Nobody has ever seen the laptop. Nobody even knows where the original hard drive is, as far as I know. Maybe the FBI. But the some of the stuff on there, like the big guy email, even the guy who, the blind guy who took the computer from whoever dropped it off, said that some of the stuff on that laptop, the copy of the hard drive that the experts looked at, that was not on there when he took it, right? When the one he gave to Rudy Giuliani did not have some of the things on there that have been reported in the media, according to him. So there's also, they found when they looked at it that there was fragments that were all over the place, and not consistent with like somebody having a laptop that was in normal usage, like where it was the way that you would expect things to look if somebody just had the laptop and used that for their email and used it consistently. So that's number two. That's actually kind of a caution. Now, they didn't exclude that it could belong to Hunter Biden, but they said it was consistent with that. And then that could be also because it was a copy of the hard drive, which is why the original hard drive would have been better to look at. The third thing is, I just have trouble believing that of all the computer shops in the country, Joe Biden is going to, or Hunter Biden is going to drop off his laptop with like all of this exculpatory or all this, damning evidence on it, to a blind, shop owner that doesn't live anywhere near him, and just forget all about it. I think that there's probably a chance that Hunter Biden didn't drop it off. There's also the fourth thing, and this is something that, again, that you never hear the right talk about, is that all the information that was on there was already being shopped on the black market for months before we ever had a laptop story. So do I think that there is a realistic possibility that somebody got that information, put it on a laptop, found somebody like a dupe they could hand it off to that would give it to Rudy Giuliani and make a big thing out of it? Yes, I do. I think that is more likely than Joe Biden just was like randomly happened to find this one guy in a different state and drop his laptop off there and then forget about it. So do I think it was fake? No, I don't think. I like whether a laptop isn't fake. What I do think is that it was. I think some of the information on the hard drive was real, but I don't think that Hunter Biden dropped off his own personal laptop at the blind guy. And at the blind guy's thing. That doesn't make any of the condemning evidence on the hard drive any less negative, right? Like I think that like some of the pictures and like the all of that, is Hunter Biden had some issues, and we all know about that. I think some of those pictures also look, like the ones with the children look awful Photoshop to me. They didn't look at any of those things. They didn't validate or invalidate any of those things. So I don't know. But I mean, I know a Photoshop when I look at it. I know a bad Photoshop job when I look at it. So I don't see any evidence that he was working with or doing anything with underage children. If he was, he should go to jail, just like Hunter Biden or Donald Trump should go to jail. That's my honest assessment of it. I think there are things Hunter Biden did that are the data on that laptop honestly shows. But I don't think that he actually dropped off the laptop. I think somebody else had that evidence, tried to drop it off to condemn, or to impact the election. And this was not Russia's first attempt to do it. And the data that was being on the black market was in Russia. All of that said, Hunter Biden was never on the ticket. I never voted for him before, and I'll never vote for him at all. Hunter Biden was not running for president. So the whole thing about Hunter Biden's laptop, the right wants to make it sound like that would have pivoted the election. Hunter Biden didn't get a single vote. He didn't literally admit to it in Candace Owens. You think of, all right, let me just check. Maybe I'm wrong. Just asking chat. Okay, so during his 20s, so this happened recently. Hunter Biden spoke about the laptop in a way that went further than some of his earlier public statements. He discussed the laptop as his laptop while talking about how its publication coincided with a period when he got sober. He told Owens, when the laptop became public, something broke in me in a good way, and he lost his fear, describing it as a part of his recovery. According to coverage of the interview, he no longer disputed ownership in the way he did in 2021. Instead, the conversation focused on what he argued had been misrepresented about the laptop's contents rather than whether the laptop itself explained or belonged to him. This is different from his 2021 CBS interview where he repeatedly said, "For real, I don't know." He added certainly could have been his and suggested possibilities such as it being stolen or hacked, while he's saying he did not remember dropping it off at the repair shop. So he spoke about the laptop as his and framed the controversy about how its contents were portrayed, not around denying ownership. So I will concede then that he admitted it was his, and you can disregard everything I just said about that, other than the fact that I still didn't vote for Hunter Biden. And the fact that some of the stuff that was on the laptop, the owner of the store said wasn't on the laptop when he gave it to Rudy Giuliani. I think that the laptop, the only people that gave a crap about the laptop are the people that weren't going to vote for Joe Biden anyway. The laptop wasn't a treasure trove of corruption like MAGA tried to paint it. Okay, why is it lazy? Because it's okay for Democrats. Why is what lazy? What? Because Democrats, I don't know what do they do, but not Trump. Liberals think it's unfair whether their own tactics are used by anyone but them. I don't know what you're talking about, dude. I honestly have no idea what you're talking about. What are you saying Democrats do? I have no idea what you're talking about. Obama had a basketball court. I mean, like, Ron DeSantis is a lizard person. I think we can all agree on that. Really, you think all Republicans question uncalled for, but we can't if prosecute this guy to find out? I don't think that Fauci did anything illegal to prosecute. And you don't prosecute somebody to find out anything. You find out something and then you prosecute them. What do you mean prosecute them? This is the problem. This is how justice is supposed to work. You investigate a crime and then you prosecute the crime. You don't investigate and prosecute a person and search for a crime that they committed. That's not how the Constitution works. If it wasn't so bad, why were they so scared for people to have it? Because Russia had meddled in a previous election in 2020 that a Republican committee had found out. And so this had the stink of the same thing. And they didn't prevent anything from happening. Remember, Donald Trump was president in 2020. And again, nobody was going to vote for Hunter Biden. Good afternoon, sir. How are you today? Hey, how's it going, Mark? Hunter is much more intelligent and a better person than anyone in MAGA. Dog, don't act like you know what you're talking about and just listening to them isn't going to cut it. They lie to save their asses. Like, I have no idea what any of that means. Who is them? Who are they? Who am I listening to? Spending minutes saying nothing. Okay. Demented Biden was somehow running that's kind of like he won a camp. He managed to steal the election from his basement. He was demented, but somehow masterminding everything. Everything that went wrong was his fault. Nothing that went right was because of him. It's just all very selective and not trying to understand things. Hey, listen, man, you are wrong. Okay, I'm wrong. The owner of the shops has face blindness or whatever that's called, dysphoria. But I don't think it's just dysphoria. I think he actually had. I think he's got like actual sight issues. But if Hunter Biden says it was his laptop, Hunter Biden says it was his laptop. I won't dispute it anymore. I don't know what's subjectively false. I mean, Hunter Biden dropping laptop on crack, yeah, makes sense. He dropped it. Again, I mean, like, somebody corrected me, I am corrected. But you're so trained by liberal horse poop that it's hard to take you seriously. Okay. But the repair shop owner should be able to identify voices. Do you like Donald Trump? No, I do not like Donald Trump. Then why do you stay? Don't do bad drugs, kids. I'd vote for Hunter over Vance any day. Hunter Biden wasn't on the ballot. Like that, like the laptop has absolutely zero impact on what I think of Joe Biden or Donald Trump. What liberal horse poop? Hunter Biden's only crime was being an addict and buying a gun while addicted. The other so-called crime was paying taxes late. Sorry, MAGA, you got nothing. Do you think Rosie O'Donnell would be a good president? No, I do not think Rosie O'Donnell would be a good president. Why don't you fact check it first, homeboy, before spewing your leftist agenda? Well, I did fact check it live and I stand corrected, but I've also read the Post article. Did you ever read the Post article? I didn't realize that, I stopped caring about this. So the thing that happened, when did this happen? The thing that happened, within the last few months, May. So it happened like 2-3 months ago. Yeah, like less than 2 months ago, May 31st. Yeah, sorry, I don't every day. I don't go and Google, fresh news on what's happening with Hunter Biden's laptop. When your source of information is Candace Owens, let's move on. Why don't you learn one? Okay, aren't you kind of on here spewing a lot of hate? MAGA has earned all the hate thrown their way. You're lucky. Lesson, I hate those who are too dumb to learn and support fascism. Fascism, you wouldn't know what fascism... Actually, I would know what fascism was. What is fascism? Well, you tell us, Lesson, what is fascism? There are 14 tenets of fascism. Tell me which one of those 14 tenets does not describe Donald Trump. If you don't know what they are, just Google 14 tenets of fascism. There's like there's different people. Fascism is not so much an ideology as it is a group of characteristics, and people put those together differently. But go ahead and tell me one thing that is consistent with fascism that is not consistent with Trump. Just one thing. I've had a 4 hour show where I covered 150 aspects of Trump connected that are fascist. I know what communism is. No, you don't. Oh, and Trump, he I mean, Trump in some ways is practicing socialism, like these new state gas stations of his. Which if Biden had done that, I can't even imagine the feces throwing contest on Fox. Uh, do you admit what? Do you admit you're uneducated? You're typing in a computer face, orange raised eyebrows. Okay. All right. So we're just got a bunch of yelling back and forth. Compared to the rest of the civilized world, the American left is the new right. I think that, yeah, I think that depends on what you mean by the American left. The Democratic Party is more center right than anything else compared to the rest of the world. I would agree with that. And the Republicans are far right. And MAGAs are just fascists. Any thoughts on Trump's communist actions forcing companies to pay the government up to 20% of their profits? Uh, I haven't heard that. This is there's an aspect of fascism which gets sort of lost on people to where it starts to feel like communism. But in a fascist government, the corporations are still privately owned, but are uh, under control of like the government can force them to do things and tell them to do things, and but they still are privately owned. They still are privately operated. They're not publicly owned. They're not. The government doesn't own them. The people don't own them, but the government compels them to do things. So much more like what Trump is doing. What Trump is doing with a lot of these companies and saying things like "eat the tariffs" or whatever. Those are actually fascists, not communists. Compared to American right wingers, I am a blinding sun. Are you related to a Teletubby? Not to my knowledge. Um, 57 ICE agents charged with SA in Ohio. 39 cases involves children. Okay, let me check on this. Uh, what appears to have happened is that an Ohio-based advocacy organization, the Ohio Immigrant Alliance, released a report titled "They Walk Among Us" that identified 59 current or former ICE and Border Patrol employees nationwide, not just Ohio, who were accused, charged, or convicted of violent or sexual crimes over roughly the last 2 decades. The report's main findings include 59 current or former ICE and CBP employees were identified nationwide. 50 of the 59 were charged with or convicted of sex offenses. 37 of those cases involved alleged crimes against children. The cases span many states and many years. They are not all in Ohio and not all ICE agents. Many were. So I think I think that you have to be careful about that. The one ICE agent that killed the guy in Maine that obviously should not have had a gun or any badge or any authority at all. But, you know, we have to be careful. 57 ICE agent, 57 federal officers over decades is not 57 agents charged with SA in Ohio. Why waste your time? You are not going to change anyone's mind. Doesn't mean you can't try. If people can learn something, including me, I learned something watching the show. I did not know that Hunter Biden had admitted it's his laptop now. So I learned something new. And so I think anything that you can learn is good. I think Chuck Schumer is a son of a... I don't know why you have to bring Chuck Schumer's mom into it. The right has been ossified since the 70s. So my bad on the ICE agents thing. So we've got... we talked about how the Fauci thing is backfiring. I cannot get over the fact that the right wants to prosecute Dr. Fauci for exercising his Fifth Amendment rights after all their, and now they want to prosecute James Comey for prosecuting his First Amendment rights. How many times did so Trump, he pled the Fifth when he was on August 10th, 2022, Donald Trump gave a sworn deposition in New York Attorney General's civil fraud investigation, and he took the Fifth 440 times. So, but now it's like they want to prosecute Dr. Fauci for taking the Fifth when they're asking him questions that are loaded and dishonest. Of course he's going to take the Fifth. And I'm not trying to be mean to you, sir. I don't know. You seem like a good and decent patriot, but I have to say, Dr. Fauci is not a serial killer. I think that's just such a ridiculous statement. That if you think that, if you honestly believe that, you have gone way too deep in the rabbit hole. You're suggesting that Dr. Fauci not only somehow was responsible for COVID, not like that he intentionally released COVID just to kill a whole bunch of people. That's insane. You're implying they did so in a purposeful manner. This is false. Even Rand Paul's not saying that. Rand Paul is saying that he knew that Dr. Fauci had the suspicion that it was possibly made in a biolab and sat on that, which doesn't bear out according to the evidence. But there was some conversations about it. There was debate about it. But then after that, there was a conclusion. And then later on, years later, there was some new information that came to light that made them think, well, maybe it's possible that it was engineered in a bioweapon or a biolab. But that is still not the prevailing view that it happened that way, just that it's possible it happened that way. There is certainly nothing to indicate that Dr. Fauci was somehow behind this mastermind and plan to develop and release a virus to kill millions of people. And he somehow managed to do it while Trump was president. Trump invoked the Fifth 450 times in the New York cases. The doctor was part of both administrations. And all he did was, he actually was part of both administrations. He was also part of the Obama administration and the Bush administration and the Clinton administration and the other Bush administration. Like, Fauci's been around a long time. Fauci's the number one uh, person that helped fight AIDS. Yeah, in different capacities, but like Dr. Fauci is just a very well respected inside the community immunologist. Like, outside of the weirdo conspiracy theory nonsense, everybody knows who Dr. Fauci is and knows that he is actually a very credible, decent man who just did the best he could in considering the circumstances. I have been listening to Catherine Liu, and they go over ossification of the liberal versus Republican classes. They don't use the words ossification, yet they have important critical thought on it. Ossification. The process, yeah, okay. So the process of becoming bones, that's what I thought. So you're talking about like people hardening their thoughts? Is that what you mean by ossification of the liberal? Dr. Anthony Fauci served in the U.S. federal government for 54 years from 1968 to December 2022. MAGA believe the most insane things, but won't even try to learn the truth. No, most diseases go through a biolab for a study. This is the thing. Okay, the other thing that they try to, mess up is the whole idea of gain of function. They talk about gain of function, and there's different ways of defining what that means. All right, one way of defining what it means is like you're trying to get it to gain function. You're trying to engineer it to do certain things. Like, how can we make this happen? The other thing is, what happens if it gains function, right? Like, how do we study this so we understand how it gains functions, what we can do if it does gain function, and stuff like that. Even the reports that we have that show that there might have been some gain of function research is the latter. It's not the former. Nobody was trying to engineer a virus. There was just times where the virus would gain function and they would study what that meant. A worker at the Chinese lab had an accident and the virus was released by this method. Where is your evidence for this? This is not a real thing. There's no evidence that this happened. Like definitively that a Chinese lab had an accident and the virus was released by this method. Like, first of all, if it's an accident, it's not a method. But secondly, there is a possibility that it was originated in a lab, but that is still not the most likely probability. The most likely probability is that it initiated in a wet market. Trump did, in fact, intentionally neglect treating COVID to kill leftists. Yes, and he even said so. Like, he's like tried to like punish blue states, when she's still doing, by the way. They're cutting funding for blue states because they're blue states. And yet it killed right-wingers more because they had to believe that fish food and horse tranquilizers were horse dewormers were the answer. Dr. Fauci was director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases from 1948 to 2022. He was also chief medical advisor to the president from 2021 to 2022. The lab was studying night temp virus, which will not die down when the body has a temperature, high temp. Interesting. I don't know anything about that. And hardening into specific classes via that thought. Does the body temperature really matter? Um, yes. Is there a valid reason for the temperature to be a subject? I don't understand the question. Yes, body temperature matters. If you can have hypothermia and you can have, like if your temperature gets too high, it can bake your brain. If your temperature gets too cold, you can die. Yes, body temperature matters. Gain of function mutates viruses to see what could be and how to combat if mutated this way in nature. Yeah, that's the more prevailing kind of use. It's not like somebody is sitting there, trying to manipulate the virus and, oh, let's see if we put protein spikes on. Let's see what happens. The Trump diarrhea epidemic will subdue when it gets cold, which is kind of funny. Like, if you think about it, if there was a disease that Trump should be famous for, diarrhea is appropriate. I mean, considering how much crap comes out of both ends of him, like on an everyday basis, and he's still full of crap, no matter how much crap protrudes from his two ends, just volcanically, consistently, perpetually, and he is still full of crap all of the time. Is there a valid reason for the temperature to be? Anthony, how many times are you going to ask that? Do you steal someone's vehicles due to their body temperature? What are you talking about? I don't steal anybody's vehicles, period. GI disease outbreaks usually get worse in the cold. Who is bringing up temperatures and why? Somebody mentioned something about the there was a virus being studied in Wuhan, which doesn't let, like, your temperature doesn't lower at night. I don't know anything about that, but so now this Anthony guy is all asking about what the body I don't know what he's trying to get at. Yeah, okay. Does matter a lot. Medical terms. One example is older people who struggle to stay warm get more fungal infections because they are a few degrees colder. I doubt car thieves really care. Yeah, I don't know what Anthony is trying to get. I don't know. I don't even understand what Anthony's point is. So, okay, we've got three things that I wanted to talk about. The first thing was the Dr. Fauci thing. The second thing was the James Comey thing, which we have barely touched on. But I cannot believe that the like it was so bad. I mean, like, let's recap. So Dr. Fauci is on the beach with his wife. He takes a picture of these seashells, and then he, posts them to Instagram. He doesn't even know what they mean until his wife explains. His wife, who used to work in a restaurant, 86 means like when you get rid of a menu item. And so then they figured out 8647, ha ha ha, that's cute. It's not like 8646 t-shirts had not already been sold on Amazon. Anyway, they post the picture of 8647, and it almost immediately gets to Donald Trump's attention, who is on Air Force One at the time. And he commands, like, agents and Secret Service agents and FBI agents to, like, track Comey's phone. Like, they like within an hour they were tracking Comey's phone without any warrant or anything. Even the agents were saying, I really don't think this is legal. We should not be doing this. And so here we are. Now, Comey, all of this got released from his, the proceedings, and this is why when people talk about Hunter Biden and pardoning Hunter Biden, this is why I think Joe Biden was it made a lot of sense for him to pardon Dr. Fauci and Hunter Biden. Did I say Hunter Biden? Joe Biden to pardon him, because you've got a guy that's prosecuting people for posting she cells, and not just like, oh, he did that. Like the fact that it happened within an hour, he was looking for an excuse to prosecute Comey. The way that Donald Trump has abused the Department of Justice is insane. And then it's like the right wingers that want to sit there and go, oh, but you were okay with the Department of Justice prosecuting Trump. Trump committed crimes. Trump actually committed crimes. Trump tried to overthrow the government. Trump stole nuclear secrets and kept them in the bathroom of a public place. Yes, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with him being prosecuted for those things. That does not, because he got prosecuted for committing crimes, does not mean he should be able to prosecute anybody ever for anything like that gave him a feelings boo-boo. Even the investigators, even the agents were saying, I think this is illegal. and it's like now there's like this whole trail that goes from the commander in chief, I think he's referred to, and the chief of staff. So his what's her name? They were both like within an hour. Within an hour. That if you don't have a problem with that, I don't care what your party is, you should have a problem with the president of the United States directing the Secret Service to illegally get your phone data and engineer a prosecution against you for posting a picture on Instagram. Can you give me one life advice? I could. It'd probably be crappy advice, though. Trump has the most fragile ego due to his silver spoon life. He wants everybody to think that he was born on first, or like he hit a home run or whatever. That man was born on third and now he's on second. Don't eat yellow snow. Good life lesson. From Risky Business. Never play cards with the man named after a city, and don't eat yellow snow. If you don't get 86, the waitress gives you gets your leftover ingredients. Trump is a scumbag, pedophile piece of garbage, and that's about the nicest thing I can say about him. No one is above the law. Well, apparently Donald Trump is now, and he wants to make it so that even his children can't be prosecuted. Trump imagines he is above the law. Don't tell people what to have problems with, Monger. I'm not telling anybody. I'm just saying if you don't, then I don't know what's wrong with you. I didn't tell you to have a problem with it. I just think if you don't have a problem with it, then you've got serious issues. You mean like Jack Smith did he was spy on Congress? No, Jack Smith did not spy on 12 members of Congress. Jack Smith did not spy on 12 members of Congress. Jack Smith got the metadata through a warrant of where they were and what they said during January 6th in the midst of a legitimate investigation of actual crimes. And he wasn't even the one that got the warrant. He's not like he inherited that. He cannot hide behind the resolute desk, however. You guys love Trump. What were Democrats do if they didn't have Trump to talk about? Well, we did a lot of things before Trump came along, in case you didn't notice. Dow Jones down 1,100 points. Oh, so thank you, Walter. This is a nice segue into the third thing I wanted to talk about, which was Trump finally got his way. He's got his man now in charge of the Fed. And guess what? the rates didn't come down. All of that stuff, getting rid of Powell, tried to get rid of Powell, never got rid of Powell. Now Powell's gone because his term expired. He's got his new guy. He's got his handpicked guy, who, by the way, replaced his other handpicked guy. Powell was picked by Trump. And the interest rates aren't down. Why aren't the interest rates down? Because war has inflation going up, and responsible people aren't going to lower the interest rates while inflation is going up. So now the Dow Jones is down 1,100 points, which the whole market thing is just, none of it makes sense. It's all just betting on who's going to win. It's all betting on bets. It's no longer, this is the problem with the stock market nowadays, is it's not betting, oh, this company is going to, make this much money or do this. You're not investing in ideas anymore. You're not investing in like a new car. People aren't investing in Tesla. People are investing in Tesla making money. They're betting. This is not like people sitting around and gambling. This is people gambling on who's going to win the poker bet. The stock market is just betting on bets now. It's not even betting on companies. It's betting on bets. And that's why it has nothing at all to do with what's actually happening in the economy. And today, with all of this, they figured some people are going to be losing some bets, so the economy tanked. The market tanked. It'll go back up again tomorrow, because there's always people that are, as soon as it goes down, buy low, sell high, right? That's the thing. And so they're going to be people that are there to buy low. The stock market has gone up. Every single president since FDR has seen record highs under the stock. The stock market has hit record highs. Donald Trump acting like there's record highs while he's president, is like they had record highs when Obama was president. There were record highs when Biden was president. Record highs are something every single president experiences. Mitch McConnell and Medicare for all, sorry. Yep, that's a statement. Mitch McConnell and Merrick Garland are responsible for all of this. No, they're not. I think that they bear some responsibility, but I think that it's more nuanced than just those two. I think that Mitch McConnell, especially, and the other Republicans in Congress, the other Republican senators who had the absolute lack of a sack to vote to convict on that second impeachment. I think that all of them, Ted Cruz and all of them, bear responsibility. He wants to make it his children can't be prosecuted. You mean like Biden? Okay. Was Biden wrong? We already went through this. If you want to say that Hunter Biden shouldn't have been pardoned, that Joe Biden was wrong to pardon him, then you have to say that Donald Trump is wrong to make Donald Trump and Eric Trump immune for any IRS crimes they're currently committing. No, he didn't spy on Congress, and it wasn't illegal because they had a judicial warrant. Kamala Harris can drink on the job, and Kamala, like, where is this weird thing about Kamala Harris having a drinking problem? I don't even know where that came from. That's just like a thing that the right has just run with zero evidence at all. I mean, like, not even zero evidence. That's like saying there's zero evidence that I have pink elephants living in my refrigerator. I mean, I don't have any evidence, but the whole thing is just insane. Oh, and I guess Hillary also signed documents under the influence. The Nivea will never talk about this thing that I just completely made up. It's legitimately one of the quotes from him, from his men that led to the fall of communist leader Stalin. Show me the man and I'll show you the crime. Trump is not a source. Okay, you are. Okay. He's doing the dictator thing. Kamala's hair alcoholism. I have no idea where that whole thing came from. It's just like all of a sudden, one day, everybody's, like the whole right wing is talking about how she's an alcoholic because she laughs. I mean, like, I could never even, like, where did that come from? We would talk about healthcare and low income housing. So, what is this term MacGuffin? I've I've never heard that. What is MacGuffin? I like it. I like the way it's MacGuffin. A MacGuffin is a plot device, like an object, secret, or goal that drives the story forward, even though it does not matter much in its own. Most users on Reddit agree that the characters only care about it to get adventures started. Famous movie explainers, including the glowing briefcase in Pulp Fiction and the Maltese Falcon. The story starts and appears in the plot to give characters a reason to move. People keep chasing. Everyone in the film wants to catch or find it. It does not matter what is inside or how it works, never fully. Oh, okay. I was watching a movie where I just saw a movie like that was basically the MacGuffin was the entire. I can't remember the name of it, but there was like the whole thing was to get this suitcase or this briefcase, and even they said it doesn't matter what's in the briefcase. So now that I know what a MacGuffin is, I was like, well, gee, just don't tell us then. But apparently, it's a play on the MacGuffin thing where it was like deliberately put there. Anyway, but Trump isn't putting communists and socialists in power. Democrats are. You don't even know what a communist or a socialist is. What do you mean they're putting communists and socialism? That's just like rambling talky talk. It doesn't even mean anything, William. You're just saying words. Trump tricked you into thinking who negotiated with terrorists. You guys need to open eyes and put your big boy pants on. We end government. What do you mean Trump tricked us into thinking who negotiated with terrorists? That's not even a cogent thought. Mike, what do you mean Trump tricked us into thinking who negotiated with terrorists? Go mow the lawn. You're not able to discern fact from fiction. All right. Mo, is Mo still here? I bet Mo has something to say about that. Trump has the government take over companies equals communism. Every accusation is a confession. Trump's actions have made mixed capitalist socialism desirable again because we don't want dictatorship capitalism. And this is, I have, thank you for using that word because this is the word I've been pushing for. The expression I've been pushing for is that we call it what it is, which is mixed capitalism. Nobody is running on replacing like on full on capitalism or socialism. Even the DSA is just for some socialism of things like uh, transportation and energy, where it's better that society as a whole owns certain things, which is interesting. I actually I would like to see some some studies done on what would happen if we were to like nationalize our energy industry. Not even saying that we should do it. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I'm saying we should study it. Um, because if energy is nationalized, then energy could be cheaper, and it could be better for everyone. There are no. Oh, see, that's such a cute little joke about murdering children. Garland should have moved faster, to be sure. I agree with that. And the irony is that with both Garland and Biden, they didn't want it to seem to be political, which is why they moved so slow. And then they were still accused, and this was my thing. No matter what you do, it's going to be, labeled as political. So you might as well do it fast. Pardon for possess. He wasn't pardoned for possessing drugs on federal property. She is a socialite before a politician. No, I'm not obtuse. I'm just not an idiot. Like do you like just what you just go around just regurgitating right-wing weirdo MAGA nonsense? MAGA, Mike, you don't know about the history of anything to the point. I don't think you know what historians to point at other than Heather Cox. All right. Dusty, if you were to accidentally put Mike on a 24-hour timeout, I wouldn't mind. Or Walter. I don't want to ban him, which is all I can do from here, but right now Mike is if one of you guys could put him on a 24-hour timeout, that would be cool. You're making baseless accusations. I could say the same thing about accusations made against the president. You only know the character of Kamala and not who she is. He doesn't even know the character of Kamala. Oh, I think you meant the caricature of Kamala. If you're being genuine, you have no idea that being better than both sides while actually progressing MAGA talking points is not better. Yeah, a lot of these fake, these MAGAs that sit there and try, like they're above the fray and stuff. Interest rates staying the same. Yep. When Trump thought they were going to go down, and the only thing that went down is the stock market. But like I said, I'll use mixed capitalism. I like it. Mixed systems are like when I was yapping about a few months ago. They are baseless. Ending terrorism was. I have yet to see anybody that's like the pro-terrorist side, other than the terrorism that happened on January 6th, where all of those terrorists that were inspired by the terrorist leader Donald Trump and then pardoned by the terrorist leader Donald Trump. Right-wing terrorism is not only tolerated by the right, it's cheered on, it's advocated, it's pardoned, it's legalized. We should only take necessities like power and water out of private hands. I think that, like, I think I could get behind that. Like, I would like to see energy, water, education to a degree. Like, at least, like, I could see there still being private schools, but they should be 100% private. They shouldn't be publicly funded at all. I don't believe in vouchers or anything, but if you want to send your kid to some sort of elite private school, go ahead, spend your money on that. But more than anything, I'd like to see secondary education publicly financed. I personally think that the most essential resource to any society is the people in that society, because the people can change things more than any mineral, more than any chemical, more than any technology, because the people are the brains that are going to find those technologies, that are going to figure out what to do with that material. Our essential resource is our people. And to artificially cap people based on how much money they were born into is detrimental to a society. I think that as far as your ambition and capability take you, you should be able to go. If somebody wants to get a PhD, they have the ability to get a PhD, and they have the work ethic to get a PhD. Nothing should stop them from getting a PhD. Money should not stop them from getting a PhD. And so I think that should be socialized. I think medicine, maybe actual medical care, should not be socialized, but I think that at least the funding for medical care should be socialized. Whether you call it medical care for all or single payer or whatever you want to call it, I don't care about what you call it. And I think there's different ways you could work out the details. I think if you wanted to have competing private insurance, that's fine. I don't have any problem with that. If you wanted to have supplemental private insurance, I don't have any problem with that. But I don't think we should be having GoFundMe's for children that have cancer. As much as I love St. Jude's, it's a shame to our country that St. Jude's is necessary. Like, good for them for doing what they do. But that they are needed is a shame on our country. I mentioned this before, and people are like, why are you hating on St. Jude's? I'm not hating on St. Jude's. I'm hating on the need for St. Jude's. They don't have St. Jude's in Denmark because they don't need St. Jude's in Denmark. And so in Denmark, if a kid gets cancer, they're getting treated for free regardless. So I think, there are some things that there is a need where if it's a public need, if it's a public necessity, then I don't have any issues socializing it. I think we should raise the floor, not lower the ceiling, though. I think that we should still have private companies. I think we should still have a profit motive that drives things. I think that we still need to have brass rings to reach for so that we endeavor to do better, to discover more, to learn new things, to come up with new technologies. And I think that, yes, a big part of those things are having brass rings to reach for. So I'm not saying that we get rid of the brass rings. I'm just saying we raise the floor so that everybody has a chance to reach for one, and not just the people that are born wealthy enough. It's an American. I don't know what's an American talking point. In other news, does anyone here want to spend 24 hours on an airplane? This week, Qantas flew an Airbus 350 nonstop 24 hours from a. Why did it take so long? That seems like a really long flight. I would definitely be insane by the time I landed. I could not spend 24 hours on an airplane. I got trapped on an airplane one time. With the airport, the pilot accidentally tripped the air mask thing, and we were about to land. We were going to Raleigh, and we were about to land, and then because there was some kind of fog or something, we were circling when he hit the button, and so then we had to fly up to Virginia, and then we landed in Virginia, because once you trip those emergency switch, you have to land as soon as possible. So we went up to Virginia, landed in Virginia, and then we're sitting there on the tarmac for like 3 hours. Then we went into the airport for another 2 hours while we're waiting for a bus. Bus finally comes and gets us and drives us to Raleigh, which was like another 4 hours. It was like the worst airplane trip of my life. And it's like I was on the bus for 4 hours. Anyway, bad memories. Since you have a problem with anybody disparaging Kamala, would you like to tell us how you feel about her defying court orders, produce documentation to release people that were innocent? I don't know what you're talking about with me having a problem with anybody saying anything that disparages Kamala. What I do have a problem with is people saying she's an alcoholic without any evidence at all. Like, there is a difference between making things up and saying something critical. I don't know anything about this defying a court order. Let me see what. I'm assuming this was from. Hang on. What did you say? Turn over information about releasing innocent people. It's like some stuff. Yeah, it's hard to keep track of all the MAGA crazy stuff. There are a couple of different claims that often get conflated here. If you're asking about the claim Kamala Harris defied a court order to turn over information that would have released an innocent person, the answer is not exactly. Here are the main incidents. So the San Francisco crime lab scandal in 2010, while Harris was San Francisco DA, a crime lab technician was found to have mishandled and stolen drug evidence. A judge criticized the DA's office for failing to disclose information to defense attorneys that should have been turned over under Brady versus Maryland. Around 1,000 drug cases were dismissed as a result. The judge's criticism was directed at the office's failures. It was not finding that Harris personally defied a court order. The Kevin Cooper case, critics, including Tulsi Gabbard, during the 2020 Democratic Party, argued that Harris's office opposed additional DA testing that Cooper said would prove his innocence. Harris herself later said she supported modern DA testing after learning more about the case, and Governor Jerry Brown later ordered the testing. This was not a case where Harris was found to have defied a court order to produce evidence. California prison overcrowding. As California Attorney General, Harris's office defended the state in litigation over a federal court order requiring California to reduce its population after the Supreme Court in Brown versus Peta. Lawyers in her office made controversial arguments, including one about the impact on inmate firefighter programs that drew widespread criticism. California was repeatedly criticized by the supervising court for delays and resistance, but Kamala herself was not held in contempt, nor would she personally have defied to have found a court order. So I don't know what you're talking about, which of those three it was, but I don't see anything where she defied a court order. If that's not good for you about telling us how you feel about Nancy Pelosi refusing to allow the National Guard to protect the Capitol. Nancy Pelosi didn't refuse to allow the National Guard to guard the Capitol. Nancy Pelosi has absolutely no control over the National Guard. It is zero. She cannot tell the National Guard to do something. She cannot tell the National Guard not to do something. You apparently don't know what you're talking about, which is like not at all shocking. The National Guard is under the control of the Secretary of Defense and the President of the United States. Full stop. He is the commander-in-chief, as I have been reminded over and over again. She not only did she not, she could not. It is legally impossible for her to prevent the National Guard from doing anything. I would use the out of free college. There's a difference between factual and disparaging misconduct. As a California Attorney General, is factual and debatable. Saying someone is drunk without evidence is disparaging. The Speaker of the House does not control the National Guard of the District of Columbia. That's just like objectively, factually true. You cannot, anyway. It's so hard to keep up with every MAGA stupid conspiracy theory. Food, shelter, healthcare, and education. These are essential investments to have a thriving society and economy. Which is like food. I think that you need the private, aspect of it, but I also think that, I like what Bandami is doing with the grocery stores in New York, to where, they remain privately owned, but they're, publicly supported so that actual, real, healthy, good food can be available to people that are too poor to get, the good food. So then you would think that the people that are all mad about the black people drinking Pepsis would be like, oh, this is a good thing. Nope. Black people need to eat Wonder Bread and tuna fish. They answered the Secretary of Defense and the President. Who said anything about Nancy Pelosi controlling the National Guard? You did. And Nancy Pelosi is not in charge of protecting the Capitol, Speaker of the House. No, the Speaker of the House does not control The Capitol, the security of the Capitol. No, they don't. They don't. Stop saying stupid things. Like when the next time you want to say that, I want you to do yourself a favor. I want you to look in the mirror and say, "Don't be stupid," and then don't say it, and you won't be stupid. No, the Capitol building is the security for the Capitol building is made up of a board that includes the Speaker of the House. It also includes the Senate Majority Leader, and it includes three other the bailiffs from both and a fifth person. And they only control the Capitol Police. They don't control the National Guard. You're the one that brought in the National Guard. Stop saying stupid stuff. Just saying stupid stuff over and over again doesn't make it less stupid. So basically what you're saying is you're a coward from that can't answer. I answered the questions. What you're saying is you're too stupid to learn the answer. Trump administration is repurposing. No, I didn't move the goalposts. I correctly defined where they were. You asked a question based on a false premise. I corrected you. What you're doing is refusing to learn. Learn something. Learn from your superiors. Trump administration is repurposing federal lands for AI data centers. USA is good. You know, the data center thing is actually something that MAGA is really upset about. I don't think Trump realizes this. But even in Texas, people are upset about the data centers. People, like, we have real memories of what happened when we all lost our powers. Like, the whole state basically lost power for a week. So we're really sensitive about the power and the AI. And we've gone through a couple of droughts. And it's affected a lot of things, including, you know, like the cattle. The beef farm has really been hurting because of a number of things. And droughts are one of them. And then the data centers contaminate the water, which make it harder for the cattle. And along with the tariffs, along with the mass deportations, like there's just a bunch of stuff that the cattle industry here has been taking one punch after another. And Trump has like an awful lot to do with a lot of it. Like he's not, like responsible for climate change, but like Texas is just got data centers going all the way, all kinds of crazy. And they're prioritizing data centers over private homes if there's another power outage. I've been on flights that long. Hey, back. I'm Kelly. Harry's back. Harry's back, but does Harry have a Harry back? I've been on flights that long in economy resulted in hemorrhoids. Oh, that's a pain in the ass. 24 hours with no refueling. If they're still here, deranged behavior, haven't been a chance to go to you. Mr. John is back. I hope you don't do that in any community, as that's why people don't engage with your questions. You try to be honest with them. You try to have a conversation, and they just double down, or they'll just shift to a different thing. Like how we got into Nancy Pelosi out of, we went from Donald Trump to Nancy Pelosi somehow. Donald did refuse to let prisoners free after claiming the California proposition that was voted on free them passed, saying we needed the free labor. No, it didn't. That's not true. I can guarantee you that Kamala Harris never said we need the free labor. I hid them as they started getting irate because now Kelly is getting to the questions. They really just needed to be patient. Later, she said her office did it without her knowledge. I already read through all of that. There is a difference between a judge criticizing how your office behaves and whether you defied it. Yeah. Kamala Harris did not defy a court order. The USMC took delivery of its last MV-22, and I guarantee you, Kamala Harris never said, "But we need the free labor." That's just horse shit. Tuesday, I just realized that I may be getting further behind than I realized. Oh, I'm only about 5 minutes behind. Tuesday, the USMC took delivery of its last MV 2020 Osprey, 359th made, production due to end for. I don't know what an MV 22 Osprey is. Hang on. Oh, it's an airplane. Oh, it's the kind that has the vertical takeoff stuff. It's kind of like a airplane helicopter type thing. So why are we getting rid of those, Walter? It does baffle me that America has food stamps and can't trust people to spend money to buy food and drink without government oversight. And you talk about us being authoritarian. There are just like the right wing is so obsessed with a poor person getting something they didn't earn that they don't deserve. Like they look at every tax dollar that gets spent on stuff on poor people, and they're like, why does my money have to go to suspending to paying that? But they don't give a second thought to their tax dollars going and and bombing a school in Iran. Like I'm okay with my tax dollars going to feed children. I'd much rather have my tax dollars feed children than my tax dollars murder children. I do not understand where their priorities are. On January 6th, when the Congress was still in session, why didn't they send a request as Congress for Maryland to deploy her National Guard? Because they can't. And I think they tried to. I think like there were people trying to get like a state to deploy the National Guard or whatever. But like the governors of the states are in charge of their own National Guard, and then the president of the United States is in charge of the DC National Guard and all the other National Guards. Like the governor is in charge of the National Guard, but the president can also nationalize it. Why did they adjourn and then go back to Donald Trump to call in the National Guard and the supporters storming the Capitol at his behest? They adjourned because they didn't want to die. And they were trying to get Donald Trump to do something, but he was too busy rewinding his favorite parts on TV. And I think that eventually, I want to say it was Pence was able to finally get the National Guard. Donald Trump never called in the National Guard at all. Congress does not. Yeah, the Congress has no authority over the National Guard at all. It's the jurisdiction of the DC National Guard. Any answer directly to the president is the one guard not beholden to any governor. The Capitol Police, however, fall under the purview of the Sergeant of Arms, right? And and then that's controlled by this board, the Sergeant of Arms, and then I think the two like bailiffs, I think they're called, and then the leaders of each house. And so it's like somehow they've got this weird idea that Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, somehow has authority over the. Anyway, it's hard to deal with maggots because they repeat stuff they learned from people that don't know what they're talking about. And so they learned it, and so they know what they're talking about. In their minds, they know what they're talking about. But they've learned something that's wrong. And it's really hard to get them to realize that what they learned is wrong. Congress can pass a resolution requesting the Maryland governor to deploy the National Guard, but not without they'd have to reconvene and it's not like that this kind of thing works on the drop of a hat. And really, the issue should have been the president of the United States should have activated the Guard immediately. And this is the one thing I've never heard MAGA respond to. I ask them all the time, Why didn't he call in the National Guard? Why didn't he do anything instead of watching it on TV? They're like, he said peacefully. And it's like, okay, when they weren't being peaceful, why didn't he act immediately? Why didn't he do everything he could to stop it if that's not what he wanted to happen? So yeah, I imagine, that you guys make more sense there, to where if somebody were like trying to break into Parliament and kill the, you know, kill everybody, that you could call in the National Guard to come and protect them, but Congress can't even do that. I mean, it's insane, but it's true. It's insane that the president of the United States sat there and watched thousands of people try to break into the Capitol building and hang the vice president and not do anything about it. That is insane. I don't know what would have happened if they got their hands on Mike Pence. I really don't. The gallows was not a real gallows. That doesn't mean they couldn't have killed him. Congress can have the authority to but they're like, they don't have time to do that. And they have to be like, there's like procedures they have to go through to pass a law. So they couldn't get together and just say, everybody in favor of deploying the National Guard, say aye. And then, and even then the president has to sign off on it. That is the job of Capitol Police Force. They are directly responsible for police and protection. Congress does not make moves of troops. That is an executive power. And the thing is nobody was prepared for thousands of people to go and try and murder the vice president and all kinds of anybody that didn't support Donald Trump. Ted Cruz was one of ours, though, right? Remember that? They went into the Senate chamber and they're like looking at Ted Cruz's desk, and then they're like, oh, he's one of ours. The Capitol Police were fornicated in the arse 3 times over. I mean, they were just completely useless. Yeah, I mean, they did what they could. Harry Dunn, man. If it weren't for Harry Dunn, Mike Pence might have been murdered that day. He's the black guy that was standing at the top of the stairs, and he waited for them to kind of like come up to him, and then he ran away and led them on a chase like Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd or something. Like that was a heroic thing he did. Only the president of the Secretary of Defense have power over the DC Guard. That Maryland is. Why didn't? Oh, they were trying to. But Maryland, like the governor of Maryland, can't send troops into DC. They were trying to get the DC National Guard. It's like you can't, like the governor of Maryland can't send troops to Virginia or whatever. Each governor is only in charge of the guard, and the guard has to like operate within its own state. The only one that can nationalize it and make it so that you go to a different state or a different district, like the District of Columbia, is the president of the United States. So Walter's right. The District of Columbia is not part of Maryland. Meanwhile, they gave billions to trillionaires. Did you know that Elon Musk has gotten $38 billion from the government? And he's only paid $16 billion in taxes? Their priorities, I mean, in his life, he's paid, I mean, which you can say, oh, $16 billion, that's more than you. Yeah, well, I haven't gotten $36 billion from the government either. If you gave me $36 billion, I might be able to get rich off of that too. Their priorities are what Trump tells them they are. The District of Columbia is not part of Maryland, but it is a federal jurisdiction under Congress. It's not a federal jurisdiction under Congress. There's no such thing as a jurisdiction under Congress. The Congress does not control anything. The balance of the way the powers are distributed is the legislative branch makes the laws, the executive branch enforces the laws, and the judicial branch reviews the laws. So the Congress has absolutely no enforcement capability on its own. Only the President of the United States does. The only one who can tell any National Guard what to go do or where to go is the President. And there is a law which has delegated responsibility for the DC National Guard to the Secretary of Defense. There's no such thing as the Secretary of War, even though that's what they want to call it now. But the Secretary of Defense can also tell the National Guard what to do, the DC National Guard what to do. But those are the only, I mean, and by the way, the DC National Guard, he's always talking about, oh, the 10,000, like Donald Trump's always saying that they were these 10,000 National Guardsmen that he wanted to nationalize or wanted to have there. The DC National Guard only has like 2,000 people. So how he got 10,000 out of 2,000, I have no idea. But that sounds a little bit made up to me. But only because it is. All right. So I don't know how we got on all that. It seems like, man, between COVID and January 6th, not saying you, Harry, talking about the guy that brought the whole thing up. They just love to lose the same arguments over and over again. All right. So I've been trying to keep them to 2 hours now instead of going for, forever. So I'm going to cut it off now. I've got some news for you though. I'm going to, when I get done here, I'm going to go and I'm going to make some chicken lasagna from scratch with fresh milled noodles. So I'm going to make I'm going to film that. I'm going to put a recording of that on YouTube so that, because people have been asking me to, share my recipes and share how I make stuff. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to make some chicken lasagna and put that on YouTube. And tomorrow I'll have a link for you. And, if you Google me, if you look at the channel later tonight, you might even see it tonight. So anyway, hope you guys have a great day. Have a great evening. And I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Ciao.